Here's Brody Brazil.
Well, this is certainly an interesting story on two fronts because, number one, I don't think anybody could have said they knew this was going to happen or they saw this coming. But on the flip side, it really surprises nobody that Major League Baseball will be investing in AUSL, that's the brand new Athletes Unlimited Softball League, which kicks off this summer. And before we talk about baseball's involvement and how much they're investing and what else they'll do for this product, I realize we have to start with AUSL because not a lot of people are even aware of what that is. Athletes Unlimited has been around for a while, but this brand new softball league is in its first year, its first edition, starting June 7th. That's when they'll have the opening day. The championships for AUSL will take place in late July, the 27th, I want to say, through the 29th. So a condensed season. They're only going to have 4 teams. Each of them is going to play 30 games, and they won't have home cities. For this first iteration, this first go-round, it's going to be a barnstorming type thing, like the Savannah Bananas. They're on tour through 10 U.S. cities this summer. Geographically, by the way, most of these cities are condensed in the south and southeast, but they will make one trip I saw up to the University of Washington in Seattle. So there is one West Coast trip, but generally, right, it makes sense. They're trying to do this at a very reasonable scale. And then next year, they're planning to expand it. Teams of this AUSL will become city-based in 2026 during that season. You'd have to think that maybe at that point they'll expand another team or two or more players. But right now, 4 teams, 30 games, 10 cities in only 2 months of this summer. Okay, so now let's get to Major League Baseball's involvement because that's kind of the news and the story here. According to ESPN, Major League Baseball will be investing a 20% stake in AUSL. And to various other reports, that dollar amount is going to be in the 8 figures. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So like more than $10 million, which makes sense for a 20% stake in this brand new league. And to Major League Baseball, look, let's be honest, that's not a lot of money. That's not a difficult commitment, but it goes deeper than that. Major League Baseball is also going to assist, I think, in what's even more valuable than the monetary side. Yes, money's important to launching a league and starting things off, but what Major League Baseball can do in terms of marketing and content creation and collaboration, that's going to be the true value into AUSL, not just the monetary side. AUSL already had a 33-game ESPN television contract deal, and now with this combination and involvement by Major League Baseball, some games are also going to be seen on MLB Network. So exposure never hurts. I'll be honest, quite honestly, having things on linear television is great, networks like ESPN, but I really think where AUSL needs to thrive is kind of where PWHL has done a very good job, and that's showing its games on a platform like YouTube. It connects on a free level with a younger audience. You can track all the metrics. You can see just how popular those broadcasts have become. It's easy to find. It's easy to go back to, and sometimes a platform here like YouTube, it's going to recommend that to you. It's free advertising for these teams and their broadcast deals. AUSL is also going to have players at Major League Baseball's All-Star Game this summer, as well as the festivities for those couple days. So like I said, the monetary side of this involvement, sure, that's important to chip in 20% of the league or $10+ million, whatever that amount is. But the more valuable thing for this softball league is the exposure that Major League Baseball can give it. Kim Ng, she was the former general manager of the Miami Marlins. She's now AUSL's commissioner. Here's what Kim said about this brand new league launching. Quote, "This is a watershed moment for women's sports and especially for softball. MLB's investment will supercharge our efforts to build the sustainable professional league this sport has long deserved and sends a powerful message about the value of female athletes and the importance of creating professional opportunities for them." End quote. And I agree. I think the biggest takeaway here is that if you're a highly competitive softball player, in high school you're great, and in college you're great, what happens next? Where is the real chance and opportunity to go play after that? And that hasn't necessarily existed on a full and wide and consistent scale ever. And so now the hope is this can be that avenue, that possibility for the best players after college. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred said, quote, "As part of our broader commitment to growing softball and creating more opportunities for women and girls in sports, this agreement reflects our confidence in Kim Ng's leadership, the AUSL vision, and the incredible talent of its athletes," end quote. And softball has been on the rise. Yes, I'm using rise like a rise ball specifically here. Softball's been on the rise for a while now. If you're just looking at the 2024 Women's College World Series Championship Series, and again, that's probably the highest competitive level, right? This is like the platform, the highest platform you could get of women's softball right now was the 2024 Women's College World Series. It set new television ratings records and attendance records in person to witness those games. And also industry reports say that softball participation just in the year 2024 alone went up 7%. Now, I imagine that number fluctuates every year, a couple up, couple down, but 7% in 2024, it just lets you know that even while the participation rates of baseball have gone down generally in the last couple decades, softball might be trending in the opposite and positive direction, and so this is a good time to capitalize on everybody's interest, right? Softball is going to return also as an Olympic sport in 2028 for the Los Angeles Summer Olympic Games, so it makes a lot of sense to really hit the gas on this right now. That's why the league is starting, and that's why Major League Baseball is getting involved, and I want to be clear, this is going to be one of my takeaways. I'm actually glad that Major League Baseball didn't try and start their own league, because that's kind of the situation with the NBA and the WNBA. More on this in just a second, but I'm kind of glad that that Major League Baseball let something else naturally exist that they liked, that they have confidence in, that they want to buy into and help, versus starting their own thing, which just wouldn't feel as organic or like it would necessarily work the same way. Anyway, more on that in just a second, but there have been similar partnerships over the years between sports leagues and also the emerging women's leagues that combine with them. For example, the NBA, they started the WNBA, but they own 42% of it. That's a partnership that has existed since 1996. That's one of the long-standing league combinations. The NBA and the WNBA, that was kind of the first of its kind. The NHL has something a little bit different going on right now with the emergence of the PWHL. By the way, in recent years, there have been multiple iterations of women's leagues, and some that have started and stopped and lasted and haven't lasted, but the PWHL is the one out there right now, which seems like it is going to stand the test of time. They've launched, they've got their games in front of viewers, they've started to expand teams and give these teams names like they were just city names. Now they actually have mascot names. But the NHL has this non-financial partnership with the PWHL, which is only focused on shared goals. I say only focused. Well, yeah, money in that exchange is nice, but there's really not a lot of collaboration. It just seems like when they say non-financial, there's also really not like a hands-on relationship you can kind of see here. There's no cross-promotion. There's really no synergy. It's just to say that, hey, the NHL is backing what the PWHL is doing, and maybe over time, the NHL and the PWHL will have some intertwined relationship. But as of right now, it just really doesn't exist that way. However, there is something there, so we should give them that. Football doesn't have necessarily the same options as other sports do, but the NFL has put much more of a concerted effort into flag football, not only for women and girls, but also for youth players. And that's because flag football is going to be an Olympic event in the 2028 Summer Games in Los Angeles, like I mentioned. Also, I think football has to realize that the future of their game relies on sustainability, and who knows, the participation levels, the more we learn about head injuries and protection and things like that over time, flag football is more of an easier entry into learning and playing the game of football without the worries of equipment or health or injury or brain damage, things like that. So football doesn't have maybe the room for a partnership like that, but I do want to mention flag football has kind of been their avenue to grow a wider audience into their sport. So let me get to my takeaways here, beginning with this. Number one, like I said before, it's probably best that baseball didn't try and do their own softball league. I just don't think that would have gone well or felt right. And I'll leave it at that, but I think you understand what I'm saying there. It's so much better that they are investing in somebody else doing something great rather than them trying this. And they'll have influence, obviously. They'll have the financial commitment, which, like I said, helps, but over time, AUSL needs so much more from baseball than just money. This can't be a write a check, feel good about yourself situation. If you're Major League Baseball, you have to really lean into this. Because I see this going one of two ways for AUSL in the next 5 to 10 years. The worst case, it's a short lifespan, it either costs too much money to run, or it's not run the right way, or it doesn't, receive the rewards that a business needs to continue, like either ratings or financial success or whatever it is. It just doesn't continue because of those reasons and excuses. And then it has a short lifespan. And then Major League Baseball backs away and says, well, we tried, we did our thing, and pat ourselves on the back for trying. That's the worst case scenario here. The best case scenario is that this becomes sustainable. This is a league that complements Major League Baseball teams, has some teams in Major League Baseball cities, has that cooperation, that synergy between baseball and softball teams. That's where baseball can make this valuable, not only for women's sports and girls' sports, but also for themselves. So you'd have to think they're going into this with the right intentions, but you just want to make sure it's not the old write a check situation, be happy about yourself situation. Really lean into this. If baseball's going to invest their money, but also their time and effort, hopefully they're going to do it in a way that makes this successful. However, let me just say this. Major League Baseball right now has so many other issues and have made some questionable decisions on their own. You'd have to hope that they can at least do this one the right way. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. Also, thumbs up while you're down there helps me, this video, and this channel. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I would love to see you back here next time.